Thank you again. Here we are, my intro number 2. I just talked about what this mini series is going to be about. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the intro and then into, I will start another video for lesson 1. So I will talk about, you will hear me giving some quotes and talking about various people that have influenced me, because this series I am still going to give some of my personal examples. So what I wanted to start with is from one of my favorite books, which is called A Thing Called You by Ernest Holmes. I highly encourage you to pick it up. It has been very valuable to me, but also keep in mind, I find it actually pretty fascinating that this guy wrote a lot of different books. He's one of my favorite philosophers, but it was a very big deal to me, and that I was able to actually still really value and appreciate his books, because he makes lots of references to the word God, which when I was growing up, a lot of people don't know my story, is that I grew up both Christian and Buddhist, but I just related to the Buddhist side more of being, as a philosophy of living. And so I had a lot of negative thoughts around the use of the word God. And it wasn't till probably my early 20s when I started reading this kind of stuff, and by different philosophers, that what I ended up doing is, because I loved the information and the beauty and the writing and everything that touched me, I would just replace it and or just kind of ignore it. And so now I kind of look at the word God as more of a universal oneness. And I know we're not talking about my belief systems right now, but that's what worked for me. So I don't want you to be turned off if you do decide you read some of this and it sounds interesting to you, and you have kind of the same issues as I do, which again has been my own journey in finding my own ways for how I look at these cultural things that have been, in our lives, words, even just like the use of the word pray, which now I like to use it or think of it as I'm just talking to myself. Okay, so I wanted to start with that by saying that. So this book, A Thing Called You by Ernest Holmes, on creating, that I think is really beautiful. You, like all others, are seeking the joy of living. You wish to be needed, to be loved, to be included in the great drama of life. This urge is in every individual. It is in everything. It is impossible to escape this creative urge. Life has entered into you, and with it, the irresistible impulse to create. You are one with the creative genius. You are as much as the sun, the earth, and the air. There is something inside of you telling you this. You are to believe that this impulse is manifesting through you, and that this longing to live more fully belongs to you. This is the only something that can make you whole. Okay, I love that. That's from like the beginning pages of the book. So this topic of leadership and changing our culture, I wanted to talk about. Let's first define culture. So culture, simply put, is the way of life or the way people live, society, and society as a whole. But what I'd like to add to this is that it is something we can change if we want to, but we as a collective have to be willing to unite to do that, as we are creators of our own reality. In regards to leadership and top performance, there are many of us out here who are extremely passionate about this subject. We have a hard time shrugging our shoulders and putting our heads down and accepting statements like, that's just how things are done. This is how it's always been. We have a really hard time with that, especially if you're always looking at things and ways to improve. Back to this topic of culture and American culture specifically, and how this relates to evolving our minds and to move us forwards towards change. American culture has shown me a lot of what I don't want for my life, a lot of with what I don't agree with in terms of what makes me happy, from feelings of rejection as well as feelings I have about my own worth. These things have affected how I perceive the world, including creating illusions of fear. Fears I believe to be true, but in actuality hold me back from excelling in my life. Fear that I can't achieve and that I can't create change because outside the box ideas are different and won't be accepted. So I might as well throw in the towel, right? So I've thought this way a lot of my life. And so this is another reason why leadership is so important to me. So the real question is, how bad do we want to change this culture that we have? Specifically in the first responder culture, in terms of change in leadership permanently. Do we want to continue to create leaders that say, oh, you're going to play that PTSD card, or just suck it up, quit being a pussy? Do we want support and love around us saying things like, let's work on this together. What can I do to help? Or suggesting, if you don't want to talk to me, is there someone else you want to talk to? Or let's find another way that works for you. How beautiful would that be if we could talk like that to each other, which we can. It just, it takes effort. Basically, I feel like we've been, working in or stuck in these old ways, even people that wanted to change things, in the past. It's a challenge to do because you still have people that are talking like this. I mean, if I don't love to use this word to say that I'm disgusted, but I am disgusted by somebody even saying that. That's a true story that somebody actually has said that. You're going to play that PTSD card. Like, I don't know, I'm just like horrified that that's being said. But it exists. And so that's for another discussion on negativity and what do we do with that negativity, and what do we do about it? So, personal story that I want to give in this intro to see, to kind of explain of what the things that are still going on in leadership, and I will use again that word disgust me, is that personal story. A good friend of mine, her cousin, or second cousin it is, a murder that could have been prevented. This happened in 2016. Her name was Shadow McLean, and she was in the Army. I believe she was stationed in Kentucky at the time. And I talked to her mother, who was actually possibly going to be on my show, but I don't know that she will be. Her mother told me that when Shadow went missing at that time, she called to report threats to her daughter's life from her former husband, who had hired a hitman to kill her and hide the body. And no one acknowledged her when she called in about these threats going on. And I'm sure she called more than once. I don't know currently. Okay, so it's 2022. I think he is still in prison, but he's up for parole at 10 years or something like that. You can look up that story if you want to know more. But I'm bringing this up because this does reflect leadership. I do think this is something I'm supposed to bring up. I think these are the sorts of stories that not a lot of people hear about. And I actually talked to the mother. It's the very first time I've interacted in a story like this before. But the point is the murder could have been prevented. So what is going on? Now, do you see this as a problem? Do you think this has anything to do with leadership? Does this get you angry or disgusted enough at all to want to get involved and help create change? This is really the question, for you as a first responder or somebody, considering this career, is that do you want to be a part of helping create change so you don't keep repeating these patterns and stories? And even back on the PTSD topic, do we want to help prevent these situations? Do we want to help mentally prepare ourselves, and especially for things that aren't being taught in the academy? It's going to be a slow, gradual process, I know. But I really hope with me doing series like this and talking about this kind of stuff, this helps. So I want you to ask you, is this something that you want to be involved with, or can you just accept things for just how they are, and this is just how we do things? What do you think would happen if more of us stood up and actually did something, like helped facilitate change? Whether it's this situation, or it's bullying, or sexual harassment, or the stigma still regarding suicide or the vaccination topic. So if you have an interest in leadership, if you want to know and or learn more skills about how to be a leader, I can help you do that. There are also lots of people out there actually on my LinkedIn that can help you as well, that are firefighters that I know, and other people out there that can help you build leadership skills, okay? Specific, because obviously I am not a first responder. I am more so about the mindset. And so I just do it within my daily life examples that I try to give you and through my interviews. So if you want to help facilitate change and know more about what you can do, I am going to help you here and help you advance your skill set. And hopefully, this is something that's going to inspire you and get you excited and all of that, so we don't keep hearing about these stories that I just gave you in this example. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning into this. And I hope you're excited to check this out. And I will see you in lesson 1. Thanks for listening. Again, this is Rock Your Life with Nora Finch.